I don't wake up in the morning thinking I have a plumbing problem until I do. And when I do, I call a plumber. Like I've tried a couple of times to get under there, and my wife is like, now she's like, no, please, no, that will cause more problems. So now I know exactly, like I don't have a mechanic problem on my car. I don't wake up in the morning. I don't spend any time thinking about, I've got a mechanic problem. I've got a mechanical problem with my car until I do. And then when I do, the first thing, I don't even open the hood. I've tried that. I open it. I've never found the sign that says reconnect this. Like it just doesn't work. So I call a mechanic. So I think we have the same challenge here, and we can talk. So it's it's two problems. What we talked about in the last episode, like, and I'm going to use language here I'm not comfortable with, but the analogy works so well. Let's just talk about it this way for a minute. Please, we'll break it down a bit. Two things have to happen. Somebody has to know they're sick, and they have to believe that you're the doctor.
If they believe you've got a cure.
Yeah, if they know they're sick, and I don't like this language at all because and I think we'll actually get to talk about this. Like we can say problem. No, there's no language I like about this unless we talk about it some more. So let's just stick with sick. Like if they know they're sick and they don't believe you're the doctor, they're not going to call you. They don't even know you exist. They're not going to call you. So that's problem. That's one problem. The second problem is if they know that you have lots of solutions, people don't care about your solutions until they know they have a problem, right? So those things have to happen. And what normally, let me just give a little context for this because we have so many places to go. What normally we conclude from that discussion, and you can see this in the industry speaking broadly, and it drives me nuts, is we normally conclude from that discussion, like that reality, is that what we need to do in our marketing and education is educate people on how sick they are. Right? So we need to tell them they have a plumbing problem. We need to tell them.
Which I think is the context of this person. Like they don't understand the critical issues I solve, for which I think at least the implications, like, so I help them understand their critical issues that I solve, right? ...
Yeah, and that would be, I think that's what the conclusion, I think the broad industry, speaking large, the traditional financial services industry, that's been the approach we've traditionally taken. It's a little bit like kind of throwing the public in a pit and then looking down and saying, hey, I'm the only one with a rope. Now, I've just never felt like that's a good way to start a relationship. I don't think people like being treated that way. And I also don't think I like treating people that way. And so I think the better way to, and we can talk about ways to accelerate this, which I know you're going to want to get to, right? Like the better way to do this is let the plumbing problem happen on its own, right? Life will present the problem. I get ready to go on my first trip outside of the country, my wife and I together with kids. Like we're not taking our kids, we're leaving our kids. I remember that. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, we have no custodial work done, right? I remember realizing that, wow, we better get some life insurance. Well, that nobody needed to inform me that I had a problem. Life informed me. How many times have clients walked in and said, I don't know what to do with this portfolio. I just inherited this money. I just sold this business. Those things happen on their own. I think it's much better. There's no magic words to say. I don't think. Except when those things happen, the plumbing problem happens, I want to think of you. And the only way I know to accelerate both of those is to specialize, right? Is to be really clear about the problems you solve and for whom. Greetings, Carl here. Now that little clip you just watched of Michael Kitces and I, that's from our podcast, Kitces and Carl. And I love those conversations. But did you know, this is sort of a secret, but did you know that there's another conversation? I have another conversation every month. It's a private conversation that you can only hear in my membership program at the Society of Advice. It's called the membership. So here's the deal. I invite one of my favorite people every month. I actually kind of refer to it as Carl talks to smart people. So I invite a really smart, impactful person. Sometimes these are really well-known authors and thinkers. Sometimes it's obscure people you'll never have heard of, but I promise you will be massively insightful. And I invite them to have a conversation with me about 3 things. Number 1, the craft of advice. And remember, these are almost always people from outside the financial services industry. So the how to give better advice. Number 2, how to do meaningful work, often in public, because that's kind of hard, a little bit scary, right? And number 3, how to be a better human, because I believe if we want to be better advisors, the best way to start is be better humans, right? So you're invited to that conversation every month. It's 90 minutes, dedicated space on your calendar to think about the impact you want to make. Because I don't know if you get that very often, but I hardly ever get time to think about the impact because I'm so busy doing the things, right? So that's what the membership is. People love it. And you know what? I don't think you should take my word for it. I think you should try. I have an idea. Let's do a free trial. 7-day free trial. There's a link. Just click the link and start your 7-day free trial to see what I'm talking about. Thanks, my friend.